Welcome to another episode of Tactical Analysis, and in this video we are going to be looking at the Babolat Pure Drive Roddick Plus. That is the 2012 version, and in this racket we've got it strung up with Babolat Synthetic Gut 17, so that's the 1.25mm version. And I'll do what I usually do. I'll pull up some stats from the Tennis Warehouse University website. We'll have a look at that before I detail the positives and negatives I took away from my on-court experience. This is the first video of a three-part series, I believe. I've used this racket alongside a few other strings, but this is the first setup I'm going to be reviewing. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I've got the racket recommender tool up for the Babolat Pure Drive Roddick Plus, and we've got a length here of 27.5, so that is an extended length racket. The head size as well is 100 square inches. Alongside that, we got a swing weight of 333 and a frequency of 163.9 hertz. And we have a shot speed recorded at 66.2 miles an hour, which is very high and suggests to us that length control could be an issue, especially when trying to maintain aggression. So that's something we'll have to be on the lookout for in our playtests. And in the racket, we've got Babolat Synthetic Gut 17. And some interesting stats, I thought, looking through the string performance database. We'll start off with the energy return, which is 92.4%, very high. This is a synthetic gut, so not as uncommon, but it's very rare to see a polyester at that level, at that high of a value. And generally, the higher the energy return, the more the ball tends to compress when it comes into contact with the string bed, and therefore loses shot speed off of your setup. And however, that does get cancelled out a little bit by the lower stiffness rating, which is 162.3 pounds. And so those two parameters tend to cancel each other out. We'd still expect quite a powerful setup in terms of shot speed and distance achieved with your shot. Alongside that, we've got a lowish dwell time of 34.5 milliseconds and a deflection of 32.1 millimeters. So that's about mid-range. Providing that the cross strings stay slippery enough, we'd expect at least a little bit of movement and therefore access to snapback. And the dwell time, although a little bit on the low end because of the lower stiffness at 162.3, we shouldn't expect too much in terms of discomfort, but we'll have a look at how it performs out on court. So yeah, let's get on to some of the positives. On to the first positive I took away from my on-court experience, and it won't be too surprising for some, it's the serve speed. I didn't get to measure it exactly, but just judging from the eye test, I would say probably at least about 3 to 4 miles per hour more on average, and that equates to more free points and in some cases more aces. So that was a nice addition to my game. And of course, the extended length gives us a little bit more margin for error in terms of height over the net, and as a shorter player, that's very helpful for someone like myself. The next positive was, again, to do with the shot speed. It's helpful for when you're trying to put away volleys or smashes, or if you're on top of the net and you're just looking to finish the point. That extra shot speed gives you a little bit more confidence that you're actually going to finish the point. And lastly, I would have to comment on the net coverage. Because of the extended length coupled with the 100 square inch head, you do tend to cover more of the net than you usually would. And maybe it's a little bit placebo. I mean, half an inch is not that big, is it? But it did feel like I was able to cover the net and be a little bit more intimidating than I otherwise usually would be. So that possibly was helped with the extra shot speed that we get from the setup. So defending at the net as well is a little bit easier. But yeah, overall, a few positives there that I thought were pretty cool and made for an interesting experience out on court. And so let's get into the negatives. And I thought the main negative of this setup, again, it kind of contradicts the actual positives, which was the serve speed. But on ground strokes, it's very difficult to control the length. And that means you tend to do a lot more defending from the back of the court than you otherwise would, as it's difficult to attack, it's difficult to keep the pressure on without taking too much risks and making too many errors. So while you can be very aggressive on serve and put away volleys, if your opponent manages to neutralize effectively, you're going to be on the back foot more often than not, and especially against a skilled opponent. And so that is quite an alarming problem, especially if you are an out-and-out baseliner or you're playing on slow courts that make it difficult for you to end points quickly. And alongside that, it's the maneuverability. So as this is an extended length racket and the swing weight is 333, it's not the lightest of rackets, and accompanied with that is the twist weight, which we've got a value recorded here at 14.4 on the racket recommender tool, which for myself is quite high. I usually use setups with a lower twist weight. And so you've got the swing weight, the static weight, the twist weight, and the extended length combining to make it not the most maneuverable racket by any means. And so that makes it more difficult to put spin on the ball. It makes it more difficult for myself to put kick on my serve and get that racket head speed going. And because it's more difficult to put spin on the ball, you can't play with that added margin for error. And so again, it ties into the ground stroke control and just makes it more difficult to stay on the front foot. I did make a little adjustment. As I used this setup from the beginning, I had a dampener in the strings. It was one of those little O dampeners that you can get from Pros Pro. They're quite light, about 2 grams, and they tend to increase the directional control by reducing string movement. But because the shot speed was so high from this setup, I thought I'd try it without the dampener, sacrifice a little bit of trajectory control for a bit more length control in terms of lower shot speed, and that helped a little bit, but the setup is so powerful that it only helps a little bit. You're not gonna be working miracles here. It's still difficult to stay on the front foot against skilled opponents, but yeah, an interesting experiment nonetheless. And onto the types of players that this setup would suit. I'd say the main type of player would be those with a big flat first serve, as this setup really does amplify that strength, and it really did put a few more miles an hour on my serve than I otherwise would have been able to achieve. And alongside that, some net players as well would find joy out of this setup, as you're able to defend at the net pretty easy. You're able to put away volleys and smashes with ease as well, and also that extra coverage from the bigger head and the longer extended length racket. So yeah, those are the 2 types of players, those with big serves and net players. And yeah, those would be who I'd expect to get the most out of this setup. So also, if you play on quicker surfaces, though, even if you don't have the biggest serve, you might find you'll get a few more free points from this setup. And if you're able to come in behind that and finish off at the net, you might find some joy in that regard as well. So that is the end of this video. I do appreciate everyone watching, so thank you for that. And if you did enjoy it, it might be worth staying tuned for future videos that I've got planned coming out soon. So I'll hopefully see you all there. And until then, everyone, take care.